Panda Podcast, episode number 13. So, this is the Monday, June 29th edition. Um, I put in a section for like stuff I forgot because I totally forgot to talk about how when I made my new friend last week, that was awesome. Sorry, I'm like my camera's to the side here because I don't have my phone, so I'm going to be looking weird. But I forgot, like, so my new friend that I made, his kid is a face-off kid. So it was a lot more fun. Just because I was more engaged in the game, like he was cheering for Dylan and I was cheering for his son, so it made the whole game more fun. But I don't think I got to that point. But like the whole idea is if we build these relationships, right, and we are rooting for each other's kids, if we become friends, then it makes the game more fun for us to watch too. A funny thing that happened is he kept asking me the score, and I never know what the score is to the game because I'm so focused on Dylan or Rory or whatever kids I'm watching. Like the score, I just honestly with like lacrosse, Dylan plays D. I don't even pay attention when the team's on offense. So it was funny by the end of our like we watched I think 5 games together. And by the end, he'd look at me and be like, "Well, what's this? Never mind." And he'd go and like find somebody to figure out what the score was. But anyway, there was a couple of funny things. But I might add like stuff I forgot. But so Panda stats for last week, I got two more letters of gratitude, and they were awesome. One of them was from a buddy who like someone who worked at school, but I don't see that much, and he's leaving for another job. He just wrote me a really nice letter, so I could save his number. We could stay in touch. He's someone that I think probably believes in this. Like, he was running around. It was our last day of school, and I was like, oh my god, I think I started a podcast. I'd love to like have you listen to, but I didn't really have time to talk to him, so I'm gonna text him now. But it's cool to get a letter from a colleague. The other one was from a parent of a former student, and that also was like my biggest smile of the week. So I got a note from a parent, I think it was a mom, about a student who just graduated college, right? So she wrote me a nice letter and made a mention that this kid still remembers some stuff, some like lessons that I taught you, right? And not like math stuff, right? But she said she remembers some of the lessons that I taught her in class, and she still talks about them 4 years later. So that was super cool because again, I'm hitting this threshold of like a 2% um, letter of gratitude rate, which is what it is, right? It's just, whatever. Teaching's hard work. We try really hard to build relationships and help kids, but we're just like a cog in the wheel, and we never know if we quite got it right or what's going on. But anyway, those were two more letters of gratitude. I got my blood numbers back and my metformin and statin aided numbers. My cholesterol is good, sitting at 148, and my H1 what is it HA1C is at 5.7, which is just a little bit above like average, like maybe getting into the pre-diabetic range, but not bad for me, especially like I was been kind of loose and summer's hard for me, so again, definitely drug aided with metformin and a statin, but my numbers are in good shape. For personal panda points this week, I got 38 points. When we were sitting down here, and I don't even totally remember where we were, but Mego goes, "There are ants on this pizza," which means get up and throw away the pizza, right? So I asked, I said, "Would you like me to throw that?" And she said, "I would like that very much." So I tried to get some points there from Mego, and she wasn't ready to give me a ton of points. We'll need a category for like Mego points. I got plus 7 points because I brought everything on the list. We drove down to my mom's house on the Cape in separate vehicles, so she left me a list. It was only like 7 or 8 things. It was just the big stuff to throw in the back of my truck. But I did execute it and brought everything down. I did get -2 because she texted about a blue blanket. I brought down three blankets that I thought were pretty blue, but none of them were the right blue blankets. But they're still going to work to do the job for Rondo, so that's good. And then -358 points because my kids keep getting burned because Dylan's about to be 12 and Rory's 13, and I think they can make their own decisions with that. But my kids do keep getting burned, so whatever. Part of the panda dad job there, I'm not doing great on. And then -830 panda points because on vacation when Mego's still working, I'm doing nothing, right? I'm teaching, so I have the summer off. Even when Mego is still working, I need to do better with like stuff down here. Like logistics and planning are so hard for me to pay attention to. The laundry, like I think, doesn't exist on vacation, so I'm gonna try to do better next week. But it's like I don't know if this is just a me thing. I don't know if I can put this on all dudes. I'm sure I can't. But like with the female mental load going, like on vacation, like as much as I've tried so hard the last couple of years to be better, and help anticipate like logistics and things that have to happen. Like when I noticed I've been down here, we haven't been down here that many days. I'm just like shut off and trying to enjoy my vacation. The problem is like Mego's still working, so there's like a hybrid thing. And so I need help with that. It's not like totally a question, but it's definitely something I need to reflect on and get better at. Like when we're on vacation, like life is still moving, at least a little bit, right? Um, the kids still have camps and play dates. And again, for me, that stuff every morning I can look at my phone and figure out. But I have to stay engaged with like the acts of service, right? And everything that I've tried to be better at for a couple of years, I noticed instantly a week down in Chatham staying at my mom's, I just forgot everything. And like Meg was carrying laundry down and doing it. I'm like, oh yeah, the fairy that watches my bathing suit. So that's something I need to work on for sure. Um, is just like when we're on vacation, staying active with all the stuff we're home. It's hard for me of no like I like to if I'm scheduled, I can do my job, right? I can be a dad, be a coach, be a teacher, all these things. But when I'm not scheduled, I really slip like all the way, and that's still falling on Mego. So I have to work on this like hybrid because I just want to be like shut off, right? I just want to be down here and doing nothing, but there's still obviously clothes that needs to be washed and things that need to be clean. I mentioned the biggest smile again. It was an awesome letter. I hope she hears this. I hope the student hears this. I think I'm gonna make another post this week about like, hey, I have this podcast going on. If you got nothing going on, I'm trying to start this conversation to try to help our kids, but we'll see. Um, I made a note here. I had a teaching buddy the last day we were hanging out. We do like a pancake breakfast and honor the retirements. And every 5 years, like if you've been there 5, 10, 15 years, you get a nice little cutting board. But I've seen one of my good friends who's like a beast. Like she works so hard for kids, and she was joking because she didn't get any letters. And I was like, oh, well, I've just been, kind of paying attention to this, and I think I hit at about like 2%. And like I think my greatest strength in terms of helping young people, right, is it's not teaching them the math, it's like building the relationships, which obviously is a strength of all good teachers. Um, but again, 2%, right? And I said that to my buddy. She's like, I didn't get any. And she works so hard for so many kids and families. Um, so, community point there, like maybe there was it's a question I have, so I'll get to it in a minute. But the last thing is community panda points. So like I'm in like a weird spot here, and I'm gonna get to it in a minute, talking about like white privilege and privilege. But so I went downtown, so I'm in a weird spot because I grew up in Chatham, right? And I have all that. My dad was a fisherman, my mom was a speech pathologist, and all that. And now I'm just like the luckiest guy on earth, right? So now I come down here, and my kids are like summer kids, right? And the goal would be to hopefully be down here like all next year, so where I can get a job down here, and they love it down here, right? Like they don't. We had some ideas for family vacations. To like go out west and drive, do some driving around some national parks, and the kids just want to be in Chatham. But so I'm in this weird spot, right? And it's a great spot to be in, right? Again, all of this stuff I'm talking about is all coming from like a place of privilege, and I get that. But I'm still trying to be the best I can for my kids, and obviously this comes up with kids I'm teaching and kids I coach as well. But so for community panda points, I don't. I think it's minus. I really don't know if it's minus or plus 73 points. But I went downtown the other day. We went shopping. It was like kind of a rainy day. So walking downtown Chatham is like a funny thing for me that I used to do as a local. Now I do as a tourist. Now, like, my kids, have my credit card or money on their watch and they run around or whatever. But I could not believe the outfits these guys were wearing. Like we went out the other night too. We went to Bluefin's, like the trendy, wicked expensive, super fancy, super awesome seafood place. And it's like a place to be seen. It was crazy, the outfits that people were wearing there. But downtown's kind of the same. So I don't know if my community panda points in downtown Chatham should be like negative 73 for being like great dads and wearing what people want. Like, it's just like crazy, right? Like, I will never be in like salmon pants and like 2 or 3 layers, like 19 pop collars. But so I don't know this culture, right? Because I'm new to the country club culture, but like there's just no way that you're a 25 to 50-year-old man and you're like, yeah, giddy up, put on my white tight jeans and a white shirt and look a kind of way when you're just like chasing your toddler downtown. Like where are the mesh shorts and the t-shirt on top? But anyway, so that was funny. I just wanted to name it. I don't know, whatever. Maybe this is me stretching too hard for the comedy thing, but friends, I am sure I can make a shitload of friends if I walked around Chatham with like mesh shorts, beers, and just like said what's up to the dads. And we're like, because it's just crazy. It's just like walking downtown Chatham is not real life, and it's funny for me, and I have to talk about it with my kids all the time because now I'm walking as a tourist and as a summer person, but like it's psychotic. Like what I don't even know. Like out people are dressed right. Like Meadow made a comment the other day. Like she went to get coffee and like people have their whole face done and their whole outfit and it's all like this white or salmon or whatever. And it just makes me laugh. Like I don't think people can be comfortable with that. And like maybe if you are, I'm just wrong and I'm the idiot here, which could be true with a lot of this stuff. But anyway, so I think I'm gonna take away the points for wearing stuff that like looks goofy and you're not comfortable in. But I don't know what like your parents and grandparents like, if you're like whatever, if that's just what they do. But it can be comfortable. Anyway, so questions I have besides the outfits. One of them, so switching gears a ton here. One would be like, why do you wear wicked uncomfortable stuff in downtown Chatham? But the next question I have here is, what is the benefit of checking the standings for your kid's team? And obviously, I've been on lacrosse tournaments for the past month. I made my new friend. He kept asking about the score. I'm like, dude, I don't even pay attention to the score. I don't like. I coach all these teams. I don't know how to look up standings in bays or the like Norfolk four kicks or Metro or anything. I just my kids club, like I have no idea. And people come to me sometimes because they know I'm like a soccer guy. So on the sidelines, they'll be like, oh, did you see this and whatever on the table? And I'm like, I have no idea. So my question, like, what is the benefit of looking at your kids' standings, right? And I coach, right? So the kids tell me sometimes because they're looking, and obviously, like when you're coaching, you manage like time and score all the time. But like, what's the benefit of checking your kids' standings? And obviously, if it's like Long Island, it's a tournament, you got to catch a fare and figure it out. I get that. But like, I think if we never ever looked at kids' standings, right? Because it's a number we're putting on our kid that our own child does not affect. They affect it, but like my question is, what's the benefit of checking standings for your kids' teams and being like, oh, if we win this one, we'll get in first place. If we lose this one, we fell, but like the other team can lose. So my question is like, what is the benefit of that and talking to the kids about it? Because again, I think it's so much that they can't control. I don't think there's a big benefit to it, but let me know if I'm wrong there. And I wrote in the interest in building relationships, and again, this idea that I was talking to my friend who works so hard, and again, I get 3 letters of gratitude for 150 kids, 2%, however that makes a teacher feel, right? Again, I had someone tell me we are just cogs in the wheel, so I try and use that if I get frustrated or feel like I'm working hard and it's not paying off. But, we work with 14 to 18-year-olds and at the college, obviously up to like 22, 23-year-olds. So it's just part of the gig, right? There's not a lot of gratefulness. But a couple of years ago, I started every Friday, like 4 years ago, I'd write 3 notes to kids that were just doing awesome. And I'd write to the kids, CC the parents, so they could see it because we never give like positive feedback. So a question I wrote, in the interest of building relationships, can we all write 3 positive emails or texts to friends or colleagues like every Friday before you leave on Friday, right? And everyone's trying to run out on Friday. But even if the text is like, I miss you, I hope you're well, I think that would help us all build relationships. It's so hard to do, right? I'm trying to do this like weird, wacky new way, a podcast to try to make friends. But like, I need to do better. Like on Fridays, I'm going to try and shoot texts to guys and just say, what's up? I hope you're doing well and I miss you. Or girls or kids or whatever, but just someone, because it makes you feel better too, because you're like, oh, I made that connection that I haven't made in a while. So the big one here, and this is like what I'm going through as I'm walking around. So we were the A's game the other night, and I was walking by the bullpen of the other team, and a kid, like one of these college kids, just goes like, dude, do you know this is the richest place on earth? Or some of these people are richest on earth? And I was with my 2 friends. I looked, I was like, did you hear that? And they're like, yeah. We're like, okay, cool. So it's great that we experience this. It's great our kids experience this. We don't need to apologize, but like, we just need to acknowledge it. So like, how do you explain like white privilege to your kids, right? So we do it in school, right? And some of my friends argue we do it too much, whatever side you're on there. But what do you do, right? Because I think we have to name it, right? Again, I'm going to keep references this. I'm proud of the book. I hope people read the book. I think the world like will be better for Rory and other young girls I coach if people read the book. But so like through that reflection on of the book, like I know I'm a better dad, teacher, coach because I put together my thoughts on the female mental load, right? With white privilege, it's the same thing, right? Like, and I've talked to friends about this, and sometimes I get on my soapbox, and I know this is like the uncomfortable one, right? And I'm not telling you you have to be defensive. I'm not saying like you don't have to say sorry, but we need to just acknowledge it, right? And so I didn't acknowledge the female mental load for 38 years. Life would have been better for Rory if I had done it earlier. And Rory, just put in all my other kids, right? All my students, all my kids I've coached. So I think it's the same thing. Like I didn't know what white privilege was until I learned about it working at a high school. I mean, sure, I probably heard about it, but like not really, right? So I think the earlier we can engage on that, and again, I know people get defensive about this one, and I know it's like, well, I work hard, for my stuff, whatever. White privilege is real, right? In America, we know it is easier to be successful the lighter your skin is, right? And I think if our kids can just say that sentence or acknowledge it, I think that's it, right? If we know it's easier for us than someone else, the next step is then maybe they help someone else who it's harder for, right? But it's just something I need to talk about. When I'm like hanging out in Medfield, when we're going to 1,000 club sports, it comes up all the time. Like my life is like a joke now. It is obviously things go on or whatever, but I am lucky, and that's part of why this whole thing, why I'm trying to do this whole thing and split like talking to kids and talking to my friends and talking to other teachers and talking to parents of kids I coach and teach. But like I'm gonna try because this is stuff I've thought about. But so my question is just like, how do you explain white privilege to your kids, right? Because we can't not talk about it, right? It is a joke that me and some of my kids and some of their friends can just go downtown with a credit card and do whatever they want. Right? They can get candy, ice cream, whatever. I mean, they're not spending $10,000, but they're spending money. So what do you do? How do you explain it? So I obviously, since I've learned about this at Wellesley, we talked to Roy and Dylan about it. Sometimes we make jokes about our bubbles, right? Anytime someone says it's a small world, Dylan was with me the other day and someone said, oh, it's a small world because we like, both live in Medfield or golf together. I can't even remember what was going on. And Dylan just looked at me and was like, the bubble. And I was like so happy and proud of that because we talk about these bubbles, how like I hate the small world thing because it's not, we're all in the same bubble, right? If you went to private school in New England or a great high school and your parents and grandparents had a Cape House, and you like still do those things, it's not weird that we know each other, right? We all just live in this bubble. So we explain it a lot by talking about this bubble we're in, and just acknowledging it, right? So what do you do? How do you explain like privilege to our kids if you're someone that has it, right? Again, most of this podcast, I'm trying to reach out to my communities, right? My community of Medfield, where the median house is over $1 million. My community of Wellesley, where I don't even know what the median house value is, and like my community of family who are like scattered all over, right? Like kids from Chatham and kids from Southie who are like all over the place. And how do they do it? Because they live in places different than me, but they're people who I like, hopefully in my core share their values, right? Like I spent my first 18 years like growing up in Chatham with these kids who like know who I was at the hardest time. So that's why I want to connect all this. But anyway, so how do you explain like white privilege to your kids? Um, and then does your family have like questions of the day? So I've been talking more and more about this. I've been trying to like I don't know, like execute what I'm saying. Like I'm trying to make more friends and go out and like talk about important stuff with my friends. And so two different people have told me about their questions of the day. Like so if they don't get a family meal and once in a while they miss a day, they might do it over text, but it's like something you're proud of. What could you have done better? And so if you have questions of the day, will you let me know what those are? Because I think those are something that I could put into a regular routine with Mega, Roy, and Dylan to help kind of talk about like what was hard for us today, how can we get better at it tomorrow? Because that's not something we do. And two of my friends recently have said they have like these questions of the day. If they're lucky enough to be sitting around a dining room table, they'll do it like that. But sometimes it's like a text, and one of them has high school kids, so they don't even see each other, right? The kids might have practice late, they go to bed, the kids come home. But in a text, they try and still get that done. So we can talk about like what we're grateful for, what we need to work on, because that's the whole thing, right? It's not letting the results get in the way of the process. So I got a lawnmower here, and I got to go run and grab Dylan. But so those are my questions, my big questions of the day. what's the benefit of checking the standings for your kid's team? Can we send like 3, like, hey, how you doing texts, or positive, the longer the better. But I think just trying, I'm going to try to hold myself to like every Friday, just reach out to people, and just say, what's up? I hope you're doing well. How do you explain white privilege to kids? Um, and does your family do a question of the day? And what are those questions? My one big topic. So KFC Radio had a reunion. I've like grown old, like with Barstool, right, and listening to KFC and Feidelberg, if you're in that world. But they shut down the show, like like the end of the calendar year, right? Of what are we in 26? So 25, they shut it down. But they had a reunion. The Knicks won. They're Knicks fans. They went there. But so my big topic was, it's crazy what we let affect our mood. And he was talking about how sports teams, as like a 42-year-old, and that's not something that happens to me. But like we know, like the weather affects us all. We know all this stuff. But so he was talking about his experience on how, like, if the Knicks or Mets win or lose, like how that affects his mood, like really affects his mood. It affects how he's the dad, how he's at work, and how crazy that is, right? And he was acknowledging that. But so I just want to loop this all back to like me on vacation trying to be a better panda husband, right? Like this idea of like when I'm on vacation, like I don't want to be bothered, right? I don't even figure out when I'm going to eat, and it's just stupid, right? So then like if one of my kids needs something or Mego needs something from me, I'm like kind of pissed going into it, instead of like being on vacation and understand like it's great and I have to still do things, right? And so that was like kind of my connection to listen to them, because I realized I'd like get mad, like, I'm like, even if I'm just getting mad at myself, right? I see Mego like carrying laundry up and I'm like, oh, idiot, we still have laundry to do even though we're not in Medfield. But so it's just this idea of like, it's crazy what we affect our mood, right? And again, it could be like your kids' sports, it could be like your home team sports, it could be something dumb at work. Where I've been successful with this is just the idea of like just trying to stick to like my couple goals that I care about, right? Like being better for Mego and making the kids independent and kind. And so like if that's all I care about, everything else is just like stuff I do, I have to do, whatever. But this one got me because again, I was like getting upset the other day on vacation when I'm not working, because I had to like do some like little things that were kind of irritating for me. And I had to really change. Like this week, I've tried to be a lot better. Like I'm here and I have to do these things. Or when someone asks me something, I still just had like an hour watching the World Cup. I do something I need to do, and then I can go play golf or go to the beach or do whatever. So just a little push there. I would Dylan, I'm at 22 minutes here, but think about the things that affect your mood, right? And obviously like work's a big thing, family's a big thing, but are some of these little things that can be better? So I was trying to, yeah, whatever. So that's my challenge. I'm trying to figure out like how to be a better than lazy husband when I'm on vacation now, which is like another thing I didn't know how to do. And I can't let little things affect my mood, right? If I'm on vacation, I'm allowed to be on vacation. I'm allowed to get some stuff done and still like go back to vacation mode. So that's something I'm working on. So that was my one big topic, whether it's like a professional sports team, whether it's your kids' sports, which obviously I talk a lot about. Like we can't let these little things affect our mood. And then we all know about like seasonal stuff, right? It's cloudy out. It's winter. We're all like worse. Seasonal depression is real. For me, it is real. But yeah, so I'm gonna try to not let little things. I have to stay focused on my goals. Again, I'm gonna like check to see if this thing has comments, but I don't know if it does yet. But someday, hopefully, it does, and people share their goals for themselves, their kids, themselves as a husband or a dad or whatever, and we can just help each other stay focused on those. So when these little crazy things affect our mood, we can just like get rid of them and get back to what we care about. But so that's it for that stuff. I guess the like secret scenes here. I'm just gonna do soccer stuff because I've been watching a lot of the World Cup. I've been able to watch more of it than I thought I would, which is crazy why my mood was bad a couple times. But I just take a bunch of notes. I'm trying to figure out how I can coach the 7th and 8th grade teams and the college team as best I can next year, and if any of it I can bring to the classroom. But so after the credits here, 2 soccer things I think the teams I coach can do better than players do in the World Cup. Don't foul when the player is facing their own net, especially when they're on their own half. There's so many times, I know these guys dive and stuff, but like we just shouldn't make contact. Like if he's facing his own net and he's 80 yards from goal, it's crazy to give up a foul there. He's in trouble, right? So I think all the teams I coach can do that better than they do it in the World Cup. The other one, and this one's way harder, but this is like a shift. I think my players are getting good enough to do this that I coach, is the idea of like, with a player on your back, can we just shield the ball, right? A lot of times we just blast it out of bounds, and that's fine, right? That's like a average play, like a C- play. But once you've gotten your body across and you're in front, the defender's behind you, you have the ball, like you can chill, right? You could stay there all day and then just kick it out of bounds when you want to. So I have noticed a couple times when guys in the World Cup just blast it out of bounds, like, and obviously they're probably giving their team a break. There's probably a thing there, but it's definitely something I'm going to work on with our team, going from like in kindergarten when we can't kick the ball in the middle, we just have to kick it wide, to like being able to play on the ball and being comfortable with someone on their back. But anyway, two things I think my teams can do better than the guys doing the World Cup. Don't foul. Don't run over people's back when they're 80 yards, and be composed on the ball, which that one I know is kind of psychotic to say, but whatever. But hopefully you're listening. If you are listening to this, I'm rooting for you. So good luck.